Hey guys, it's Nicole Eaton with the Rock Your Soul book and podcast, where we talk about how to hack your mindset, grow your intuition, and live your best life. You can support this podcast by subscribing, leaving a positive review, and screenshot and sharing on social media. The following is an excerpt from Nicole's recent live video on her Rock Your Soul Facebook group. To join in on the fun, type in facebook.com/groups/rockyoursoulclarity. Well, I have been traveling all over, and this has been a interesting month for me. Usually, okay, so my birthday is in July. I just had a birthday, and usually that's like my favorite time of year. I love my birthday. I love celebrating my birthday. However, this year, and I don't know if it was the age I turned, I don't know what it was, but I definitely, since I've gotten back from my travels, have felt just not like myself and not and off. And I think one of the things that was really beautiful about this month is that between the tiredness of all the travel and between just turning 34, I came back to this question of am I being the person I want to be? I've just been in this weird space, and I was asking myself, and I think, I've been doing a lot of journaling of just saying, okay, who am I being the person I want to be? Am I being the person, not just in my professional space, but in my personal space? Am I being who I ultimately want to be? Am I really in alignment with myself? And I was so tired after all these travels that I just kept coming in no, and when for me, and if you're somebody who feels like yourself when you feel energized, or you feel like yourself when you, I don't know, there was just something about it. If you're somebody who needs that rest to feel like yourself, pay attention to that. But one thing that I've been thinking about is coming back inward. So when you're in a space that feels kind of heavy, or you're just not quite right, it's really important to come back inwards. I like to do that by detaching from social media, which is why I have not been live for a hot minute. But one of the things that I would love to prompt to you guys today is just, are you listening to yourself? Are you listening to yourself? Because I think a lot of times we get in a routine and we push and we create and we force ourselves into doing things or being something that maybe we haven't checked in with ourselves long enough to make sure it's still what we want. So my encouragement today is to encourage you to ask yourself that question of am I still doing the things that bring me joy? Did this bring me joy for a small period of time and now it doesn't? Is there something that needs to switch up within me? Is there something I need to listen to? And the thing is there was part of me that kept coming back to, I'm an avid everyday person who works out. And there was a good stretch of time where I didn't work out at all. And I was like, okay, you're being lazy, and that bully in our heads that we get when we're doing things a little differently can really chime in, especially, if you've done really well for a while and you felt really good and you kind of get back into that weird space. So that bully in my head was are you just being lazy? What are you doing? You're not doing, the things that make you, that make you you. And I think the bigger push in that soul energy was asking me to slow down and was asking me to rest. And so I just want to talk for a second about intuitive thoughts versus those fear bullying thoughts, because intuitive thoughts are, it's almost like this soul level deep. It's almost like this calm energy. It's not a bullying energy. The universe doesn't bully you. God doesn't make you do things. It doesn't force you to do things you don't want to do. So when we can get into a space where we're asking ourselves, what do I need? There's going to be two voices. There's going to be that calm voice that says, okay, you just need to chill. You just need to rest. You just need to focus on yourself. You just need to do something creative. You just need to maybe work out. You just need to drink, eat healthier. Whatever those things are, mind thoughts are kind of like fleeting emotions. You don't stay in them, but usually those intuitive nudges are just soulful, and they're deep, and they're persistent, and they're consistent. And so we kind of get into that space where we have to start listening to that soul deep energy. Intuitive thoughts also are very, they're very, they pop in, okay? So intuitive thoughts are usually if you're driving, if you're showering, if you're just in a resting state, it's easier to access those intuitive thoughts. So when we're in that space where we can more easily access that intuitive thoughts, it's when we're resting, not when we're thinking about it. I actually think that brainstorming is great on a logical level, but if you really want to get the answers, slow down. If you really want to get the answers, get quiet. Go within yourself. Do a meditation, do yoga, do something where you're kind of just dropping that brain frequency enough to hear, because intuitive thoughts are guiding you at all times, and it's just like, it's time to listen to it. Like, it's time for you to like stop trying to figure it all out on your own. I think one of the things that I've been thinking a lot about is one thing in my relationship with the universe is that I would wait until it was a big problem, and then I would invite the universe in, because I knew the universe is there to support me and there to save me and there to like cheer me on. And so I would get into this space where it wasn't until it would, you know, I manifest, don't get me wrong, I manifest daily, but I don't ask for guidance in the process as much as I'd like to, as much as I aspire to in this season of my life, is that I've been asking, like, what do I need to say? What is the next right step? And I've really been looking for that guidance, not everywhere else, but within myself. And so I would encourage you guys to begin to ask yourself that question, like, what is the next right move? What would you have me say? The part of your brain that wants to think about it is going to pull only from the things it already knows. It's only going to pull from the things that you know, the things that have made sense before to do, the things that maybe you heard somebody else do, the things that you read in a book to try. But what our soul has the ability to do is to access all the information, even information that maybe we didn't know a ton about, and it will guide us to something a little bit better. So when we can allow those emotions and those fleeting mind thoughts, and mind thoughts are fearful usually, mind thoughts have a past or future, intuitive energy is present. Sometimes we'll get a glimpse of our future, we'll have an idea or a pull towards something, but most intuitive energy is like, what's happening right now? And so I'll encourage you to ask yourself that question of like, what's happening right now? What makes the most sense for you right now? If you were to pose those questions, what might you hear? What might you experience? Because we have this guidance system accessible to us at all times. Like, we are getting those intuitive hits at all times. And I think when we create space to ask those questions, and one of my favorite things that I used to do all the time that I have gotten a little away from, that I started doing more recently in this kind of introverted phase that I've been in, is automatic writing. And if you're not familiar with automatic writing, you get a pen, you get paper, you just sit down and you allow yourself to just write whatever comes in your head, even if it's, this is stupid, I hate this exercise, Nicole, I wish I wasn't doing it, I wish I didn't, you know, whatever stupid thoughts pop in your head, you just write them. And we don't judge them, we don't decide that they need to be doing something different, we just allow whatever thoughts to come in, because when we can filter out the mind thoughts, we can get to the deeper stuff. We can get to the soul level thoughts. We can get to that soul guidance when we allow that to filter out. So part of what I would encourage you to try this week is to just sit with your thoughts, sit with your energy, and just start writing and just see what shows up. We're not going to judge it. We're not going to decide what it means, but we're just going to allow it. And then from there, if you get into a flow of that, and some people really do well with that, is to write things out. If you get into a flow with that, you can sit there with questions of, what would you have me do next? What about this situation? What's the higher guidance of this situation? And you can begin to ask for guidance in the process rather than when it gets to the problem. And that's magic. That's magic. That's been my week, is getting so clear within myself about what my next move is and where I'm being called next and what is in my best and highest interest and what is aligned with who I'm becoming and who I'm transitioning to, and to make sure that I am transitioning to and aligning with the person I actually want to become, not just what I know already. And that's the trick, though, is because we get into these phases of our life where everything is just kind of on repeat and we're just doing the same thing, and it's so important to like stop and ask yourself the question, like, do I still love this? Is this still bringing me joy? Is this still the next right thing for me? Am I forcing things that don't need to be forced, or am I flowing and allowing myself to be whoever I'm meant to be and who I'm designed to be? And so inviting the God, angels, universe, what would you have me do right now? What would you have me say? I just trust that the guidance is always there, and that's been a really strong affirmation that I've been using. The guidance is always there. It's always there because it is. It's always there because the universe is supporting you at all times, and it's always accessible. So if you feel like, oh, I don't know if the universe ever speaks to me. I don't know if I ever hear it. I don't know if I ever trust my intuition. I don't know if I ever hear my intuition. What I'll say to you is it's always there because it is. It's always there because it is. You are not an exception to the rule of the universe. And I want you to hear that. You're not an exception to the rule of the universe. When you start to invite that guidance and when you start to ask for more, like show me more, make it bigger. I always say that I'm a bully to the universe a lot. If you've worked with me, you've heard me say this, but make it bigger. I want to see more. I want to feel more. I want the guidance in the biggest way. Like, help me correct my unbelief. Like, let me believe in the magic of the universe because I know it's there. But I just think the universe will not step in unless you ask it. And it also won't step in if you won't stop doing the things that are blocking it from stepping in. And what I mean by that is that if you're asking for guidance on a certain situation and you're still doing the same exact thing in that situation, you have to decide to do something differently. You have to choose to be willing to see things differently. You have to choose to be willing to do things differently. That's going to open up the gateways. That's going to open up the doorways for more for you, to see more, to feel more, and to experience the universe's magic. Like, I always see this magic when people are trying really hard to figure something out and then they just take a leap. They just do it. They just show up for themselves. They show up for their higher self and they just do something different. It's almost like just things just drop in their path, and it's really incredible when you see that. But we have to let go of the stuff we're gripping and the stuff that we're repeating in order for us to really see the magic of the universe of what we're asking it to actually do. Because we like to believe and hold on to like the things that feel safe and the things that we know. And because we don't know what's coming, because the universe has a bigger blueprint and a better plan than we do, that we kind of grip into places that don't need to be gripped. And we hold on to things that don't need to be held. And so sometimes if we can just loosen our palms and say, I don't know what's next, show me what's next. I don't know. I'm open to knowing. I'm open to knowing. I'm choosing to know that we can kind of invite that energy in. We can invite that magic in. We can invite in the energy of magic of the universe, because I just deeply believe it exists, and I deeply believe it's important to ask those questions of like, are you listening to yourself? Are you hearing what your soul has to say rather than what your mind believes has to happen next? Because it may be different. And when we start to really listen to that guidance, it's just a whole different level of life. It's a whole different level of magic. It's a whole different level of what kind of person you are meant to be and who you're capable of being. The other thing that I kept thinking of is, listening to yourself and just, do I need to rest today? Do I need to push today? And the thing is that intuitive voice, it will tell you to push when it's time to push. Today I was like, do I rest today, or do I, get this workout in? And I just felt really deeply in my gut, in my soul, that I should just get some movement. I think it would be really good for me. And it's felt great. It's felt so good all day. There were times last weekend where I was like, ooh, I have the energy for it, but something in me feels called to rest. So it's just the process of learning how your intuition speaks to you, learning how the universe speaks to you. I actually wrote a ton about that. I'm working on finishing this book. That is also where I've been. It's called Rock Your Comeback. It is got so much on the universe and intuition and just rebuilding your life after like chaos. So anyway, not out yet, but hold on to your hats because I'm so freaking excited about it. But yeah, I also think there's just this phasing out right now, and I'm not an astrologer. I couldn't tell you what the planets are up to right now, but what I do know is there's this big push for like radical honesty. So I'm also just being called to ask you to get really honest with yourself. So that's partly listening to yourself, but it's also partly just identifying what's not working anymore. It's also identifying what maybe has passed its prime. It's also having hard conversations and being willing to handle the answers to them. Being willing to speak your truth, ask for what you need, and if it's not being reciprocated, to be able to walk away from it. And I think that's really important right now, is that you're asking for what you want, you're showing up as yourself, you're speaking your truth, and you're holding the confidence that the universe will support you. If it's not the right fit for you, if you go to your boss and you're asking for a raise, if that's not the right fit for you, you deserve that. You deserve to have the things you want. And when we start to ask for it, we start to get really clear about what will happen and what will never happen. And I think that that's just as powerful as listening to your intuition, is to tap in, feel into your heart of what you need and want, and then ask for it. This is about like showing up for yourself. Like, this is about you taking your power back. Like, the universe is like fucking magical. Like, the universe is fucking magical, and it's there to support you at all times. There's no time where it's like, no, I'm gonna take like a 15-minute break and I'll get back to you like in a different time period. I actually wrote an Instagram post. If you don't follow me on Instagram, make sure to. But I wrote an Instagram post the other day about like the universe is like a relay. You know, it's like your relay partner. And I've been watching a lot of Olympics. That's where that comes from. And so if the universe does its part and it goes to pass you the baton, you better be ready for it. You better be ready to receive that. You're on the same team. And there's no exception to that rule. You're not the exception to that rule. It doesn't get to happen for this person and that person and not you. But part of that is you taking your power back and you believing you're worthy of being blessed and highly favored. You feeling like you're worthy of having more. And I think that's part of it, is like we get to listen to our intuition, but there's also like correcting the unbelief that we're not worthy of the things we want and deserve, that we don't get to have them for whatever reason, that we're the exception. But that's bullshit. Like, that's bullshit. You get to have everything you desire. You get to be the person you were created to be. Like, there's a role for you in this world. There's a role for you in this life. And when you step into the authenticity of it, people can't help but fall in love with you. Opportunities can't help but find you. That is the magic of who you are. And that's the magic of your God spark, right? Is that when we step into who you authentically are, when you're saying the things that you've been needing to say and you're doing the things you've been needing to do, and you're listening deeply to that next right step and that next right thing, that's a game changer. So I hope this week, as you travel through it, that you're listening, that you're having the hard conversations, that you're stepping back into your power and reclaiming yourself in your life, and you're reclaiming all of the things that maybe you've been too busy looking externally to notice. This internal world just needed a little love and attention. We do that though. You know, we get so busy in our external world that we forget our internal world is like, hey, it's been a while since you checked in. And I love to do this in a couple ways. If you're like, feel kind of disconnected from yourself or your alignment, you're saying, Nicole, I don't really know if I'm in alignment. Go to a mirror right now and just look yourself in the eyes. You'll know. You'll recognize it. Like, take a moment and actually make eye contact with yourself in the mirror. I swear that's a game changer. I also like to just put my hand over my heart, close my eyes, and just tune in. Like, what do I need right now? What am I being pulled towards? What am I being pulled away from? Sometimes we just need like 5 minutes to get honest with yourself. And like I said, automatic writing, huge game changer. That is a huge game changer when we can start to allow in that guidance. Like, this is a week of asking for guidance. This is like time to start listening to something other than that busy monkey brain that we have, that just, and the monkey brain, the like part of our brain that isn't that deep soulful part, it just repeats loops of information. It's like a software program that just keeps running, and it's like, oh, I always think of it as like those Facebook prompts, or if you have any notifications on your phone. I turn all my notifications off because I don't like that just incoming energy. But if you have notifications on your phone, it's kind of like your brain like, don't you want to like see what this person's up to, or you know, this person followed you, or this person liked your stuff, and it's just pulling your attention everywhere. That it's just like cyclical in a lot of ways, the way our brain works. So when we can start to tap into that higher self energy and we can start to really listen to it, that's our guidance. That's our next step. So if you're feeling lost or stuck, or you don't know, or just things feel kind of off and you're not really sure why, automatic writing is such a beautiful way to get past the bullshit in your head and just like tune in. So I did a course last November called the Comeback Course, and it is based off primarily of the book I'm writing, and it was so much fun that I've been asked by several people to bring it as a standalone course. So that should be available hopefully in a couple of weeks. I'm watching it back as I'm editing it from the Facebook Lives I did, and it's just honestly powerful. Like there's stuff in there I'm like, I should take notes, but I was teaching it. So I want you guys to really listen to yourselves, to your hearts, and to everything that is available to you. Again, it's all available. All of the universe is speaking to you. The universe is speaking to you. You're not an exception to the rule. It's always speaking to you. And sometimes we just need to do the things step by step, day by day, to start weeding out the old shit that we don't need anymore to tap into who you're meant to be. I love you all. I hope you guys are having a fantastic summer. And yeah, tag me in anything. Thank you so much for listening to the Rock Your Soul book and podcast. Take a moment to book a one-on-one session with me or purchase my trainings at NicoleEaton.com. Join the Rock Your Soul Facebook group or follow me on Instagram at NicoleEaton.xo. And if you loved this podcast, don't forget to share it. Thank you.